will be people watching, so.
Anywhere up here.
I was nervous for that. So good morning, everybody. Thank you again for inviting us and stuff. Dogwood Animal Shelter is a 501c3 organization. It was started back in 1976 by a gentleman by the name of Dr. John Reinhold. So I don't know if anybody would know that name. But it was his vision to help take care of unwanted pets, take care of the spay neuter problem that we have. Every year, one mama cat and her sibling or her offspring can produce, well, she can produce 100 kittens. Okay, I'm not going to do the math this morning because it's way too complicated, but if you figure half of those kittens are female, in a 7-year span, they can produce roughly 500 more kittens. Okay, so his mission and his goal was to help the spay neuter problem that the lake was experiencing. So he started a shelter out on 7, right there by the airport. And then several years later was able to get some land donated for our current location, which is on Runabout Road now. We have an 18,000 square foot facility. I welcome anybody to come by at any time. We can do a tour if you like. The building doesn't look near as big as what I get told all the time. That's what it actually is. Right now we're housing approximately 130 animals in there, dogs and cats. I did have a little one, she's like AI, and one is no any frogs. And I had to tell her, break the news to her that we just adopted our last frog the day before. And so I'm supposed to call her when we get the next frog in. So she didn't leave unhappy. But at any rate, so we've been at our current location since 2005. We are very excited. We're going to be celebrating 50 years next year. We're going to have a big celebration. I have no idea where yet, what we're going to do, but we're looking forward to it. For an animal shelter to stay in business for 50 years is quite phenomenal. There are so many moving parts that go to a facility like ours that it is constantly changing, and we don't get money on a regular basis, so it's hard to budget. And we rely on donors and sponsors and the adoption, our spay neuter. We have obedience training. We try to figure out all these different ways to get revenue into our facility. Believe it or not, when we get a puppy or a dog in, say that's 40 or 50 pounds, it costs us roughly $350 for the first month. And we can't adopt that animal out until 21 days. So with that many animals that we have, you can see the expense that it creates for us. We are very fortunate that we are governed by a board of directors. There are 11 of them. I do my best to name them all off. John Page, that name might be familiar. He's our president. Been president for about 6 years. Our vice president is Dennis White. Our treasurer is Barb Bender. And then her husband also, Bob, is on there. We have 2 teachers, Kelly Capps and Melissa Dandridge, those are school teachers at Camden. Actually, Melissa or Kelly Capps is an English teacher. And then we have Jill Parks, she is on the board, and then we have Joe McAlee joined our board about 3 years ago. And then we have a couple of other people, Ken Albright, I was on the board, no longer, sometimes the manager and director. I know I'm putting something, I'm trying to go around the room. But we're very fortunate with the board because they are a governing body and foresee, the future, and will plan for the future as well as take care of our necessary needs that we have arise all the time. So we have approximately 15 people that work in the shelter on a daily basis. The other thing I forgot to mention that as far as our income sources is our community or the thrift store over south of the square. All the proceeds that they from the sales there all come to the shelter to help run the organization itself. So it's a major well-oiled machine that takes a lot of parts and pieces for it to work. We rely heavily on volunteers. We have several people that will bring their kids up while we're doing some things later in this year that we'll be going to, I believe, Dogwood and possibly Hurricane Dad to talk to the kids about education, about the responsibilities of owning a pet, the do's and don'ts and things like that. We believe that if we talk to the young ones and train them right, that hopefully we can train the adults to be better. Because unfortunately, there's some really ugly adults out there that have pets. But that's what we're there for. Let's see. Like I said, we rely on volunteers. We rely on the community, honestly. We have several fundraisers that we'll do throughout the year. And then we go to adoption events. You'll see us everywhere. So being a nonprofit, that does kind of limit our funds. And so we have to get creative and things like that. Let's see, what else? Some of my employees I have, with it being a nonprofit, we have people that just make minimum wage. So when everybody passed that law to increase the minimum wage, it was a great thing because all my employees got a raise. Okay, but then that created a little bit of a hardship for the shelter because of that increase requirement. So with that, the employees that we have, they're just hard workers. I mean, they play with all day long, okay? And that takes a special person to do that. I have one employee, I have actually two employees that have been there for 19 years. They've done every job in the shelter. I have another employee that's been there 13 and another one that's been on 11. So these are dedicated people, and I just want to give a shout out to them because my job is to manage them, manage the facility. They're the ones that truly does all the work there. Okay, and so without them, I would not have a job. Let's see, we are part of. We work with other shelters and other rescues quite a bit. Everybody know what a Great Pyrenees looks like? About 120 pounds with a whole bunch of fur is what it is. They're hard to adopt. Pit bulls. We have an influx of pit bulls in our community. They too are hard to adopt. I've got one there right now that's been there for 4.5 years. He's a great dog. He's big, kind of scary looking, but it's just not something that people are after. So what we do when we have these dogs, and that dog was there before I got there, just so you know. I've only been there for about 9 months, but what we're working on doing is finding some of the rescues that are out in other communities, you know, whether it be Columbia, Kansas City, St. Louis, and sometimes even like Texas and Kansas, and trying to find other places where those breeds are a little bit more acceptable or desirable. Okay. There for a while, we were taking kittens to Colorado. They have a lack of kittens in Colorado, and we would take anywhere from 40 to 60 cats and kittens out there for them to adopt. So we work really, we're building a relationship with other shelters and things like that to kind of network, because we're kind of out there all by ourselves, you know. We can house 160 dogs in our kennel. Okay. That would be a nightmare, I promise you. But we are, if there was a natural disaster like what happened in Poplar Bluff, we would be able to bring in other shelters' animals, and that's something that we kind of pride ourselves on. So we have to maintain our levels so that if something was to happen, we could put them there and things like that. We also work with the community as far as Camden County Sheriff's Department, their animal control, Osage Beach animal control, and try to bring in as many as those animals that they pick up. The problem with this is that I don't have a lot of cooperation with enforcement of the laws. It's against the law to abandon your pet. It's against the law not to provide it housing, fresh food, and water. It's against the law for them to let their dogs run wild. as we all know, I mean, we live on majority of highways. We don't all of us live in the cities. And that creates a problem. And so when we don't have law enforcement backing us up, then we have to create other avenues or other ways of going about it. Within the next couple of months, we'll be going to the commissioners and the aldermans and trying to get a better working relationship with the organizations so that they will prosecute. Because if we keep doing the same thing over and over again, we're not going to change anything. And so, how do we get attention? We penalize them. We hit the wallet, and hopefully over time that will take care of the problem. Spay and neuter clinic. We offer a low cost spay and neuter, and honestly, and that's the big problem. Veterinarians are kind of like doctors. I mean, they just keep charging more and more, and no disrespect. But when you have that situation, most people can't afford a $400 spay or neuter for their animal, and they're like, okay, well, it's no big deal. Well, it's a big deal. So we do offer a low cost spay and neuter. We do that 3 days a week, 4 weeks out of the month, and we'll do anywhere from 18 to 22 spay and neuters in 1 day. So we are attempting to solve the problem, but again, it's not going to fix everything. We do obedience training. We offer a class for that. It's always full. It's a 6-week program. It's a great thing just to be able to get your animals dogs mainly, to learn some basic skills and things like that. And that seems to help. And so then that dog, if it was to come back to the shelter, is more adoptable. So one of our main goals outside of adopting these animals are making them adoptable. And that takes a lot of work too. So we participate with the Missouri Department of Corrections. They have a program that's called Puppies for Parole. I don't know if you guys have heard about that. It's a really neat program. We've been doing it now for about 8 years. And what we do is we take 8 dogs, sometimes 10 if we're lucky, and they go to the Jefferson City Correctional Facility, and they live up there for 10 weeks. And they have a handler that handler is responsible for them 24/7. They teach them the basic commands, sit, stay, all that kind of stuff. They crate train them, potty train them if that's the case. And if they have some behavioral issues, then they work on those as well. We're getting ready to do a transport or an exchange, and of the 8 that we have up there right now, 6 of them will be going home to their homes. It's a very popular program, and we're very fortunate to be part of it. So that's kind of a little bit about the shelter and what we do. Like I was saying before, I was on the board for about 4 years, and our former director and manager decided that it was time to retire. She was 82, so I can't blame her for that. And so I thought I would go in there. I have about 25-30 years of management. I thought I'd go in there, sit for 30 days, hire somebody, I would be good to go. And that was 9 months ago. So I have a very good understanding of what it takes to run a shelter, and it's not as easy as like saying managing property or managing a retail store. I mean, there's so many things that go into it. So again, like I said, without the employees that we have, the dedication that they have and everything, we would not be where we're at today. And if it wasn't for Dr. Michaels, definitely would. So, does anybody have any questions for me? Or I'm not sure how I'm doing on time.
You have a thrift store too, right?
We do.
Manage that, or is it?
So I have a separate manager over there. Her name is Caitlin. I like to promote with them, and she has worked there twice now. She had a baby, came back to us, and the opportunity presented itself, and so she's the manager over there. That again is like one of those people, they're just dedicated to the whole idea and to the mission and everything like that. We have a lower room. I don't know. It used to be the MFA building. I forget who owned it before. And so we totally converted it to a retail store type. And it's just a thrift store. we sell things at a reasonable price, and again, inventory in, inventory out. We accept donations there. We have dock people that'll bring those in, which sometimes we had a whole house of furniture donated to us. From a condo that somebody had bought that was furnished, and of course, it didn't match their decor, so they donated to us. And it's things like that that really keep us going and keep the income and things like that coming in. So if you haven't been there, I welcome you to go there.
Oh, I've been there. What percentage of shelters comes from this store?
A very small amount. Yeah. So when COVID hit, of course, it devastated a lot of businesses, and a lot of businesses closed, and we were concerned if we'd be able to survive it. The thrift store probably is about 20%, in all honesty. And again, it's stuff that we're gonna, Caitlin, the new manager there, she's got all kinds of neat ideas that we're gonna do for the weekends and stuff. We'll do some adoption events over there. We're doing a shop and hop for the kids. We're gonna have Easter egg time. And then just different things throughout the year. But when the thrift store started, there was 2 other thrift stores. There was Bear Market, and then there was one other one. Now we have like 10. So we're competing against all those other places, and we've tried things over the years, it's like, okay, let's raise our prices a little bit and see if that helps us. Well, then everybody complains because the prices. And then if we drop them down too low, then they're like, well, I would have given you $5 for it. Well, okay, give me $5, and I don't care, So again, it's hard avenue to go, to make sure that it's flowing properly and things like that, and that we don't price ourselves. And what we have found is that somewhere in the middle, we keep our prices, and again, just having more and more product, getting that inventory out, is what's keeping the people, and they're coming back. We were having a problem there for a while because management was rude. People would shop there. So you're not gonna shop there, we don't make any money, and we can't feed the dogs, So there's a lot. It's just finding that even ground. So spay and neuter is probably our biggest supporter outside of other options. And we just recently went to the three times a week, which is great because we're booked out a month and a half at 3 days a week at 20 animals a day. So that's the need around here. So does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Any other questions?
You could bring in more bobcats, coolers and stuff.
Glad you said that. So I have been pushing so hard for like a mandate, like a section for just the men, for the schools, the lawn equipment and things like that. We don't get a whole lot of that in. But we're looking to try to go like, not necessarily take auctions or anything like that, but kind of put the word out there that that's some of the stuff that we'd like to have and everything. Because there are a lot of guys coming there for stuff. We have a moving company that when they pick up stuff that's being donated, that they bring it to us. Trying to work with some of the other furniture companies around here. Maybe I could work with a motorbike or something like that and some of their clearance so they could donate to us. That would be great. I would love it. So, yeah, question.
The vets were the clinic.
Mhm.
So that it's so much discounted as opposed to if someone makes a private clinic somewhere else. So where do your vets come from?
So that is, we are fortunate enough that the vet that we have has been doing this for 26 years, which is incredible. He lives down around Buffalo. And so 3 times a week, he travels from Buffalo to come up and do it.
Or it's the same person who's doing all
Yes. In the past, we've had, we tried to do a wellness clinic, and we just didn't have the staff to keep that going. And if we didn't have enough people, the demand that is out there to help with that is just enormous. Finding a bed, one of the things that we talked about, possibly doing is finding a bed to do a wellness clinic. We can't afford to pay them, you know, the $60,000, $80,000 that they would want a year. So that's kind of defeating our purpose. We've tried going to MU to the vet school there. Again, they've got all kinds of loans that they're trying to pay off, so they're not willing, they've got housing. So it's a challenge. It truly is a challenge. If we were to lose our vet, we would be in a world of hurt. So, again, there's so many things that it takes to make the whole organization run and operate. And you throw in that monkey wrench on one part of it and you got to scramble. So, we're very fortunate that, like I said, we rely on donations a lot of the times, and that's what gets us through the year, the majority of the time. We had a very nice endowment from a family. They never had any kids. They loved animals. They had adopted about, I think it was 8 or 9 animals from us over the years, and they left everything to us. And it was like, wow, that's really, really, really cool, you know, because without that, we wouldn't have been able to survive. Now, we are fortunate, both of our buildings to pay for it. You know, so we don't have a mortgage on them. Our board, like I said, should do a very good job of looking at the future and manage our money very well. But all it takes is one catastrophe, you know, and that would be the problem. And there's such a need. There's such a need for a shelter. We turn away animals in the summer, especially because we have people that come from the cities, they dump the dogs or the cats. And then people are thinking they're doing the right thing by bringing them to the shelter. Well, then they get extremely frustrated with us because if we're full, I can't accept it. I have this big old organization called the Department of Ag that tells me what I can and cannot do. People don't understand. You know, it's a big building. What happened to be full? Well, we're full. I can't put dogs on top of dogs. I can't put dogs with cats. I can't put this dog with that dog because they fight. Or this little guy, you know, he doesn't like this one, or he is a boy and it doesn't like the girl. So while they go and they pick these animals up because people dumped them, and then they bring them to us and we can't do anything, then we kind of defeat the whole purpose too, because they're thinking they're saving the animal, and then we're turning them away. Now, we could have a facility that was 50,000 square foot, and we'd fill it up in a matter of weeks. I mean, that's how severe the problem is. And we don't know what the answer is, you know, other than spay and neuter, you know, teach responsible pet ownership. That's why we target the young kids and things like that. I'm wanting to set up a program this summer for middle school age kids to come and help. Got to work out some of the details because of insurance and things like that, and parents and things. We kind of do it and just let them see what it's like, you know, and why it's important to take care of those animals. And if you can't commit to doing that, I mean, an average dog's life, a big dog, is 10 years. Well, if you get that dog when the kid's 9, he's going off to college at 18. Are you going to keep the dog, or are you going to bring the dog to us? Well, when you got a 9-year-old dog, very few people want the 9-year-old dog. They want that cute little gray, you know. And so that creates an issue. So it's a commitment. It's just like having a kid, you know. And so many people don't think that that's, you know, they don't think of those aspects. So. Thank you, guys.